Welcome to a very special episode 45 of EDH Commander Challenge. I'm your host BT, and I just have a couple of things to mention before we start today's video. First, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to all of our subscribers, as we have now surpassed 400 on YouTube. The family of EDH Commander Challenge continues to grow, and for that I am forever grateful. You guys are the best. You continue to give and give and give, and I will always appreciate it. So to give back to you guys, the awesome EDH Commander Challenge, and technically Magic the Gathering community, make sure you stay tuned at the end of this video to find out how you could win a custom playmat. Thank you for helping this channel open the door to 400 subscribers. Wow, that was not so good. Now we ask you to continue to support us on the strive to 500 subscribers. Oh, that was even cheesier. Come up with this stuff. Anyway, as you guys know, I always try to respond to as many comments as I can that you guys send me on each and every video that I release. And say over the last 2.5 months or so, I've been getting a lot of comments centered around the same thing. So, how come you don't do 4-player matches? Where's the multis? Come on, man, do a multiplayer. Can we have a multiplayer match, please? Do the multi or I'll beat you up. I've gotten comments like that like crazy. So, for once, I'm going to be a genie and I'm going to grant your wish, because reaching 400 subscribers for me is something that I thought would never happen. I don't think I could even get past 100, to tell you the truth. So to celebrate, for the first time ever on EDH Commander Challenge, we're going to have ourselves our first multiplayer match today. Now there's a couple things, however, I do have to apologize for, because this was a test run. I've never done this before, and I mean ever. So first things first, it wasn't filmed in my place as it normally is. It was filmed actually at my local card store. Since it would give the players more room, a bigger table and such. Also, the lighting was a little rough on some of the foil cards, so it'd be like, oh, that flash of light. At least in my opinion, but maybe I'm just picky. And lastly, and this is the real important part, is that the camera doesn't catch my or Skylar's deck on screen, which was a little bit odd. Because it actually showed me in the viewfinder that they did come up just barely, but in the shot, not so much, unfortunately. So, do apologize for that, but if there are any plays you need more detail on that I don't mention in the video, for whatever reason, if there's anything you don't understand or you just have questions about it, make sure that you reach out to me in the comments and I will reach back to you ASAP. Lastly, and this is the most important thing, I won't be doing this every week, but I will try to do more of these from time to time, because editing this, the difference between this and my regular videos, editing this is like night and day. So without further ado, let's begin. To start, Skylar's playing his Hapatra Vizier of Poisons deck, and his opening hand has Temple of Malady, Black Sun Zenith, Beast Within, Swamp, Phyrexian Arena, Chandler Initiate, and Llanowar Reborn. Chad is playing his Ghalta Primal Hunger, and he has Sylvan Library, Worldly Tutor, Ronus, Voising Satyr, Llanowar Elves, Utopia Sprawl, and a Forest. Gemi is playing 5-color Reaper King and has got Ethereum Sculptor, Fang Skulkin, Azorius Key Room, Temple of Deceit, Overgrown Tomb, Clifftop Retreat, and Razor Verge Thicket. And last but not least, I'm playing my favorite general, Rhys the Redeemed. And as you're about to see here, my opening hand consists of Windswept Heath, Oracle of Moldiah, Explore, Forest, Birds of Paradise, Imperious Perfect, and Martial Coup. Gemi starts the game off for us by playing a Temple of Deceit. He chooses to scry and leave the card at the top before passing to Skylar. For Skylar's turn, he follows suit with his Temple of Malady, but instead of leaving his card on the top of his deck, he chooses to put it at the bottom of his deck before passing the turn over to me. Then for my turn, I play a forest and cast Birds of Paradise before passing to Chad. And then for Chad's turn, he plays a forest and plays Utopia Sprawl before passing it to Gemi. For Gemi's turn, he plays a Razor Verge Thicket and casts his Ethereum Sculptor that makes his artifact spells cost 1 less and passes to Skylar. For Skylar's turn, he plays a Swamp and casts his General Hapatra, Vizier of Poisons, before passing to me. For my turn, I play a Forest, which is a bit etchy as you can see there. My apologies. And I cast Explore, which lets me draw an extra card. Then I play a Windswept Heath as my additional land, and finally cast my Rhys the Redeemed before passing to Chad. For Chad's turn, he plays a Forest and taps it to cast Llanowar Elves. He then uses his Utopia Sprawled Forest, which gives him 2 green mana, to cast Voyaging Satyr, and then passes to Gemi. For Gemi's turn, he plays an Overgrown Tomb tapped, and gets to cast his Azorius Key Rune for only 2 mana thanks to his Sculptor, and passes to Skylar. For Skylar's turn, he plays another Swamp, and casts Channeler Initiate, which due to coming into play with 3 -1/-1 counters on it, triggers his Hapatra, granting him his first 1/1 Death Touch Snake token. Skylar then moves into combat and fires the first shot of war with his Hapatra at Gemi. Gemi takes the hit, putting him to 38 life and 2 Hapatra damage. This triggers Hapatra's second effect, and he chooses to place the -1/-1 counter on Chad's Llanowar Elves, killing it in the process, which in turn grants him a second snake token. He then passes to me. And at the end of Skylar's turn, I pay 1 life, putting me to 39, and I sack the Windswept Heath and search out a Scattered Groves before my turn begins. For my turn, I cast Oracle of Moldiah. Once again, I apologize if you can't see the top of my deck or Skylar's, as they're barely outside the camera's view. Remember, this is a test run. The card revealed from Oracle is a Primeval Bounty, by the way. I then play a Temple Garden tapped, and a Forest as my second land, and then pass to Chad. For Chad's turn, he pays 3 mana and casts Ronas the Indomitable, then uses his Satyr to untap his Utopia Forest, and taps it again to cast Sylvan Library, then passes to Gemi. Gemi plays an untapped Temple Garden, taking 2 damage and going to 36 life. He then pays 2 mana to cast Eladamari's Call and searches up a Chief Engineer, which he casts immediately for 2 mana, which now gives his artifact spells Convoke before passing to Skylar. Gotta praise Gemi on the pretty sweet value he now has towards his future artifact spells there. For Skylar's turn, he plays an Arcane Lighthouse as his land, then pays 4 mana by tapping 3 lands and removing a counter from his Initiate to cast Torment of Venom on Chad's Ronas, weakening the strongest creature in play from being a 5/5 to a 2/2. Chad resolves to lose 3 life from its effect, putting him to 37. He then moves to combat and attacks me with Hapatra. I take 2, putting me to 37 life and 2 Hapatra damage. He places yet another -1/-1 counter on Ronas, making it a 1/1 thanks to Hapatra's effects, and makes 2 more snake tokens, one that he forgot to make earlier when he used his Torment card, and another from weakening Ronas a second time. He then passes to me. This field is starting to get really scaly. For my turn, after drawing, I reveal a Sylvan Library on the top of my deck. I then cast an Imperious Perfect, strengthening my elves, and pass to Chad. Chad pays 4 life off Sylvan Library to keep one of the extra draws from it, putting him to 33 life, then plays a powerful card, Survival of the Fittest. which has everyone thinking a combo may be coming soon. He then uses his Satyr to untap the Utopia Forest and passes to Gemi. On Gemi's turn, he decides to take immediate advantage of his ability to convoke artifacts, so he taps 3 lands, his Key Rune, and the Sculptor to generate all 5 colors to cast Reaper King. He then pays 1 mana thanks to his Sculptor to then cast Fang Skulkin. However, before it resolves and then starts blowing up permanents at random thanks to his Reaper King's trigger, I decide to pay 3 mana to cast Crib Swap on Reaper King to remove it from play before the Skulkin resolves. He instead then gets a 1/1 Shapeshifter token and moves Reaper King back to his command zone. Then he passes to Skylar. For Skylar's turn, he plays a Forest, then goes into combat and attacks Gemi with all 4 of his Snake tokens. Gemi takes it, putting him to 32 life. Next, Skylar removes a counter from his initiate and pays 2 mana for a total of 3 to play Black Sun Zenith for 1, placing a -1/-1 counter on every creature in play, which is a total of 16 creatures. In the process, it kills my Birds of Paradise, Chad's Ronas, Gemi's Shapeshifter token and Fang Skulkin, and Skylar's 4 Snake tokens. But due to Hapatra's effect, Skylar turns his field into a snake pit by making 16 new Snake tokens. Finally, he plays Beast Within, targeting Chad's Survival of the Fittest, fearing that despite this setback, the Chad may still be able to combo off soon. Chad responds by using the Survival twice, discarding 2 creatures to get a Temur Sabertooth and a Great Oak Guardian to add to his hand. After which, Survival is destroyed, and Chad gets a 3/3 Beast token. Then Skylar passes to me. For my turn, I draw, revealing a Strip Mine on the top of my deck, which I then play, which in turn reveals a Path to Exile on the top of my deck. Then I cast a Sylvan Library I just drew, and pass to Chad. At the end of my turn, Chad casts Worldly Tutor to put Sylvala, Heart of the Wilds on the top of his deck after shuffling. Chad draws a Sylvala and pays 4 life again to keep one of his 2 extra draws from Sylvan Library into his hand, putting him to 29 life. Then pays 4 to cast the Temur Sabertooth, and he uses his Satyr to untap his Utopia Forest and passes to Gemi. Gemi plays an Isolated Chapel for his land. Again this turn, Gemi decides to make full use of his artifact spells that cost 1 less and having Convoke, and pays 6 mana, including tapping both of his creatures to recast Reaper King. Then pays 3 and casts Trophy Mage. He uses it to search out a Scarecrow from his deck to his hand. He then taps his 2 remaining creatures for Convoke to cast the Scarecrow for 2, as again his artifacts cost 1 less to cast. This triggers his Reaper King, and he destroys Skylar's Hapatra, which Hapatra is then sent back to the command zone via Skylar's command. He then passes to Skylar. Skylar plays a Llanowar Reborn tapped as his land and recasts Hapatra, then moves the Graph +1/+1 counter from the Reborn to Hapatra, making her a 3/3. He then moves to combat and attacks Gemi with 10 Snake tokens. Gemi chooses to take the damage, putting him to 22 life. He then passes to me. At the end of Skylar's turn, I pay 4 mana to make a green Elf Warrior with Imperious Perfect and a green-white Elf Warrior with Rhys. So 3 for Rhys and 1 for Imperious Perfect. 4 total. For my turn, I draw and pay 8 life to Sylvan Library, putting me to 29, allowing me to draw a Forest and a Sylvan Scrying. My top card after that was an Eldamari's Call. I then pay 2 to to cast Sylvan Scrying to search out the powerful Gaia's Cradle and add it to my hand. After shuffling my deck, the top card revealed is a Canopy Vista, which I play as my first land for the turn, which then reveals Orum's Chant on the top of my deck. I play Gaia's Cradle as my second land, and in order to get rid of the different threats on the board, I pay 10 mana, including 2 white, to cast Marshal's Coup for 8, giving me 8 1/1 soldier tokens, and destroying every other creature since I paid 5 or more for the X cost. In response, Chad activates Tamir Sabertooth's ability and bounces his Satyr to his hand to make it indestructible, making it the only other creature to survive the coup. Skylar and I choose to return our generals to the command zone, while Gemi allows his Reaper King to be sent to the grave. I then pass to Chad. Chad chooses not to pay life for Sylvan Library this time. He plays a Yavimaya Hollow for his land, he then pays 3 and casts Selvala, Heart of the Wilds, and passes to Gemi. On Gemi's upkeep, he pays 2 life and casts Vampiric Tutor, putting him to 20 life, and he searches out the very reason he allowed his general to remain in the grave, as a card he searches for, then draws, then casts immediately turns out to be none other than Bringer of the White Dawn. This in turn triggers Selvala, allowing Gemi to draw a free card as the Bringer was cast as the strongest creature in play. And hilariously, with only 1 mana left open to him, the card he draws is Miri's Guile, which he also gets to cast this turn, before passing to Skylar. What a sweet top deck, Gemi. Good job. For Skylar's turn, he plays a Forest, and then casts Phyrexian Arena, looking to start drawing and recouping resources to rebuild his field. And then finally casts a Corrosive Mentor as a blocker, before passing the turn to me. For my turn, I pay 4 more life to Sylvan Library, putting me to 25 to keep an extra card. I tap my Cradle for 8 mana and cast Primeval Bounty for 6. With 2 mana floating, I play a Forest, which triggers the bounty, giving me 3 life, putting me to 28. I then use the 2 mana I have left over, and then tap 1 extra to recast my general, Rhys the Redeemed. This triggers the bounty a second time, allowing me to get a 3/3 beast token. I then pass to Chad. Chad again doesn't pay for Sylvan Library. He instead adds 4 mana with Selvalla's effect, since Tamir has 4 power, along with tapping 2 lands, to play Great Oak Guardian. He targets himself with its effect, boosting his creatures and then untapping them. He then plays his general, Ghalta, Primal Hunger, and indicates that he's just about ready to unleash his infinite combo engine. The entire table cringes in fear. But luckily, I mean really luckily, I happen to be holding an Orum's Chant, which I then pay 2 to play. It prevents him from playing further spells for the turn, and because I paid the kicker, there will be no attacking this turn. He does still spend 2 mana to bounce his Oak Guardian back to his hand with Tamir's effect, and passes it to Gemi. We also remind Chad of his free draw with Selvala for playing Ghalta. And since I played a non-creature spell, that triggers my Primeval Bounty and lets me put 3 +1/+1 counters on my beast token. For Gemi's turn, during his upkeep, he uses his White Bringer to return Reaper King to play. Also during his upkeep, he uses his Miri's Guile to look at his top 3 cards and draws for turn. The card he draws, he plays immediately, which is Eternal Witness. He uses the Witness to return Scarecrow to his hand, and then he casts it, which triggers his Reaper King's effect, and he chooses to destroy Ghalta Primal Hunger with it. which Chad places back into the command zone. He then passes to Skylar. For Skylar's turn, during his upkeep, he takes his first damage of the game from Phyrexian Arena, which lets him get an extra card draw this turn, putting him to 39 and still the highest life total by far in the game. He plays a swamp for his land and recasts Hapatra for 6, and then passes to me. At the end of his turn, I sack my Strip Mine and target Chad's Yavimaya Hollow. It's destroyed, but Chad floats 1 in response, looking to potentially use Temur if I have any sort of responses looking maybe for removal of some kind, I imagine. But no other interactions happen until my turn. For my turn, after drawing, I pay 8 to Sylvan Library, putting me to 20, so I get to keep my extra 2 card draws from it. I then play a Forest, which triggers my Primeval Bounty, giving me 3 life, putting me to 23. I then play Swords to Plowshares on Chad's Temur Swordtooth, removing it from the game and giving him 4 life, putting him to 33. Then I decide to go for a major play this turn and take a big risk. So I tap my Gaia's Cradle for 10 mana and cast Court of Calling for 7. Admittedly, my original plan was to broaden the number of different creatures I have out and go for a Tristani Summoner. But I stopped dead in my tracks when I realized I had another good card I wanted to go for in the deck, which could be none other than Seedborn Muse. Once she hit the table, everyone else collectively groaned and uttered the words, "Oh no." I know it's bad, but that did make me giggle a little bit. Also, that triggers my Primeval Bounty since I played a non-creature spell, and now I put 3 more counters on my original beast token, making it 12/12, as big as Ghalta, if you will. It's now being the strongest creature in play. Then I reused my remaining 6 mana that I had to double the number of tokens I had in play, with Rhys giving me 16 soldiers and 2 beasts. Finally, I enter combat and attack Chad with my 12/12 beast. Chad takes it, and his life drops to 21. I then pass to Chad. Oh, and yes, in case you were wondering, one of my beast tokens is a full art custom token featuring Blaze Blue's Makoto Nanaya. Because, I don't know, anime. I love anime after all, right? Thanks to Seedborn Muse, I untap all my permanents during Chad's turn. Chad again does not pay for Sylvan Library, and instead casts Lightning Greaves, which he equips to Selvala, giving her Shroud. He then recasts Voyaging Satyr and equips the Greaves to it, then taps it again to untap his Utopia Forest, and passes to Gemi. At the end of his turn, I again use my wrist to double my tokens, increasing my soldier tokens to 32 and my beasts to 4. Also, I cast Path to Exile on Gemi's Reaper King, to which he places it back in the command zone. Sadly and unfortunately, he doesn't have any basic lands in the deck, so he doesn't get to reap the benefits of getting the free land, but he does get a free shuffle. Again during Gemi's turn, thanks to Seedborn Muse, I get to untap all my permanents. During Gemi's upkeep, he uses his Whitebringer to bring back his Ethereum Sculptor to play. And then he uses his Mirius God to look at his top 3 cards, as he's now desperately looking for a board wipe spell of any kind to quell the increasingly number of creatures on my field. He draws and casts Diabolic Tutor, which makes me begin to sweat in fear. But in a surprise turn of events, after searching out the card and shuffling his deck, he simply passes to Skylar, which shocks the rest of the table. At this point, it's just rinse and repeat for me. I just use Rhys to double my tokens, putting my soldiers to 64 and my beast to 8. Now that it's Skylar's turn, I again untap my permanents, and since Gemi didn't board wipe, Skylar is now the table's last hope of stabilizing the field before I reach my next turn. He takes 1 damage from Phyrexian Arena, going to 38 life, and draws what needs to be the 2 most important cards of the game. He starts off by playing a swamp as his land, and pays 7 to play Grim Poppet. It comes into play with 3 -1/-1 counters on it, so his Hapatra gives him a snake token. He removes a counter from the Poppet to kill Rhys. I respond by doubling the number of tokens I have in play. He responds again by removing the other 2 counters from the Poppet to kill 2 of my soldiers. This gives him 3 more snake tokens. I lose 2 soldiers, and my Rhys goes back to the command zone, but after that, with the doubling effect of Rhys on the stack, my number of soldiers goes up to 124, and my beast tokens go to 16. He then moves into combat and attacks Chad with Hapatra for 2. Chad takes it, dropping his life to 19 and 2 Hapatra damage. He then uses Hapatra's effect to place another minus counter on the Grim Poppet and removes it immediately to kill another one of my soldiers, and gets 2 more snake tokens as a result, leaving me with 123 soldiers. He then passes to me. For my turn, after drawing, I pay 8 life with Sylvan Library, putting my life to 15. I play a Ghost Quarter, which triggers my Primeval Bounty, putting me to 18. I then cast Aura Shards, which triggers the bounty, and I put 3 counters on my 12/12 beast, making him a 15/15, and cast Elvish Harbinger, which triggers the Aura Shards, and I target Gemi's Scarecrow. He responds by paying 1 and sacrificing it to draw a card. I then enter combat, and I send 63 1/1 soldiers at Skylar, 30 1/1 soldiers and 4 3/3 beasts at Gemi, and 30 1/1 soldiers and 5 3/3 beasts. Well, technically it's 4 and 1, that's a 15/15. At Chad, because I played with the non-creature spells I mentioned earlier, to claim the victory and a 1 turn 3 kill that only Yusei Fudo from Yu-Gi-Oh! Can say he's done. With the game being over and me just barely coming out victorious thanks to Seedborn Muse, Gemi reveals the card he had searched for with Diabolic Tutor, and revealed it to be the blue color staple, Cyclonic Rift, and that if he had had just a little bit more mana, then he would have been able to send my entire field bouncing right back to my hand and getting rid of my entire army of tokens in one fell swoop.
Well, that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed the episode as much as we enjoyed making it for you. But now I have a few questions for all my subscribers out there. Do you guys use playmats when you're gaming with your playgroup? Would you like to win a custom playmat? And if you did win, what, say, anime or game design would you want on the playmat? Well, as thanks for supporting our channel for all this time and pushing us to over 400 subscribers, I'm giving away a free custom playmat. How do you enter? First off, you have to be subscribed to the channel, so if you haven't done it already, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and join the family. Then in the comment section below on any of our vids, tell us when you subscribe, what design you'd want on your playmat, and finally use the hashtag EDH Commander Challenge. And that's it. For more chances to win, feel free to have your friends and family who like Magic the Gathering or Commander or EDH, have them subscribe too. More chances for you. Thumbs up for that. You can also score a bonus entry by following us on Twitter at BT Game Night and retweeting one of our videos with the hashtag EDH Commander Challenge along with the design you would want for your playmat. But remember, that's a bonus entry only. You have to be subscribed to the YouTube channel to be eligible for the contest.
Contest closes July 15th, 2018. On a serious note, guys, I really appreciate the 400 subs. You guys are awesome. I wish you all good luck. I can't wait to announce the winner next month of who's going to win that playmat. And we'll maybe even see if we can show it off before we send it to the person who wins it. Well, until next time, guys, I'm your host, BT, reminding you to check out all our videos. Join our game. It's now your turn. Cheers!